For Outside the Bunker, this is a program rather, that gets to the point. Time is of the essence. Redeem the time, for the days are evil. Pull no punches, mean what you say what you mean, mince no words. This program goes about 20 minutes or so. Actually got permission to go 25 minutes by the board, so I got to make use of the time. This program basically is piggybacking off what was brought out last Sunday night. We talked about how Don Koenig has had posted on his website a table projecting end-time events, and in his opinion and biblical knowledge, he projects certain years when he thinks particular biblical events will come to fruition and be fulfilled. I highly recommend that you go back and watch that video if you haven't done yet, or if you did it in part. Watch that video, because I'm basically continuing on from his website and from his table where I left off, because there's a lot more that he has presented there. Now, I will say this, as I'm going through this, understand that Don Koenig is a pretty humble brother. He's got the gospel right. His eschatology is pretty much on point. I'm not saying I agree with everything. I'm not here to be critical. I'm here to share what he has posted, and most of the things that he has posted, even though there's been some updates, go back to 2007 or even before. So it's pretty amazing as we look at these things, as they seem to be pointing to the time we're in right now. All right, so again, I'm continuing from where I left off Sunday, so this is like part 2. Folks, there might be a part 3 and a part 4. I don't know how far I could get, so let's hit the pavement. Again, this is from his subjective viewpoint. All right, so he says here that a world economic system crash due to debt and greed is likely sometime between 2025 and 2026, which is very interesting. Then add a few years for a new world electronic beast banking system to be set up over all nations. This is a really poignant thing he's bringing up here. I mean, he's saying that he's expecting an economic crash in either year 2025 or 2026, which ultimately will cause the economic system to be replaced by the beast system. And as if you watch the news, guys, the economy's starting to teeter, and very well can happen something terribly, terribly bad to the economy and even the world economy this very year. And as President Trump announced, already in the making is the Stargate, which sounds like the beast system, which may be the new, or part of the new economic system that will be put into place, which will be what? All digitalized. No more cash, no more paper currency. Everything buying and selling will require a mark, an identification on each person, where you could get swiped and you could buy and you could sell that way, and your account is directly credited or debited. Sobering category he has here about the economy. Peak population on the earth as in the days of Noah. Except for Africa, the population of most nations have already peaked. Maximum population of the young and old wheat and tears in the field for the end time harvest. He has that between 2025 and 2035. Now, I mean, it would make sense that the Lord would have the tribulation period happen during a time where we hit like the maximum number of people on earth. And at this time, we're well past the 8 billion mark. There are some factors that might lower that. It certainly will be lowered when the four horsemen ride. But I think he's indicating that the wheat and the tears, the time for harvest, will be at its peak population numbers in the beginning of the tribulation period, which very well can be the case. So there's never been more people living on earth as there are right now. So that's something to consider. And he's got that happening from 2025 to 2035. Genetic engineering, part animal, part human, hybrid monstrosities. As in the days before the flood, how long will God allow man to defile his creation before judgment? Man actually might create a superhuman beast. So I know TOL has mentioned this before, is that basically what he's saying here, and what we've taught and shown, is man is trying to play God by tampering in labs with genes and cloning and all this other stuff that man should not be dabbling in. With the Nephilim during the time of Noah and the genetics that were being altered to the point where you're like, is this human anymore? It very well that a significant part of why the Lord allowed the flood was because Satan was very active in a plan of manipulating and contaminating the very basic genetic makeup of humans, because the Christ, the Messiah, is coming to die for mankind, not a monstrosity, not half beast, half man, or half robot. And so here we are again, where this is taking place right now. He has this genetic engineering to the point of crossing the line happening between 2025 and 2035, even to the point where how long will the Lord put up with mankind dabbling and affecting his creation, especially man who was created in his image? How long would God tolerate that? I don't think God will tolerate that, if you ask my opinion. Another category, when major nuclear warfare or biological warfare in the world becomes more and more, much more likely to occur than not. And he has that from 2025 to 2035. Like I said, Don Koenig is not trying to pinpoint a year, but a window of time in these various end time categories. And just in the ones I've shared with you briefly here, he's pretty consistently has a 10-year window of 2025 to 2035. So when it comes to nuclear warfare, which some would argue, yes, it seems to be in the Bible where there's going to be war to the point where many people will perish at once. And there's a verse or two in Jeremiah that talks about like the ice melting in the eye sockets. I might be paraphrasing, but things that give the appearance or give the imagination enough connection to say, was Zechariah talking about actually seeing a nuclear blast? I don't know, but it's quite possible. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but Putin has been threatening nuclear war. Matter of fact, there's been several leaders, whether it be North Korea, even Israel and the United States, talking about using, if need be, nuclear weapons. And Iran, if they have capabilities of doing that, they're certainly going to pull that card out, at least threaten with that card. So there is a real chance, even within the next 10 years, that there could be a nuclear exchange. And that would bode really bad for billions of people on Earth. Islam becomes the catalyst for a clash of civilizations and brings war to much of the Earth. And that's projected to be, by Mr. Koenig, 2025 to 2030, so a 5-year window. Now, we can't dismiss the argument that things are quite volatile in the Islamic world in regards to Israel, what's going on in Gaza, and this appears to be coming to a head. If you notice, the ceasefire is been violated, and there's been quite an attack of Israel and Hamas. I still believe that between Trump and Netanyahu, that they are going to, at some point in the very near future, have to attack Iran's nuclear program. This may cause World War III to break out. I don't know. I would like to be out of here prior to that, but it has that potential. The green movement and the phony man-caused global warming becomes the catalyst for a humanistic socialist pagan new world order that opposes free enterprise, liberty, and religious beliefs that denies the lies. And folks, this has been going on for quite some time. We're seeing it now being pushed to the point where countries are heading to be enforced that they could only have so big of a carbon footprint. And the flatulence of cows are being blamed for the condition that the world is in. And there's this push towards eating bugs, don't use any fossil fuels, don't burp, and hug Mother Earth. It's basically a paganistic, humanistic, socialistic religion. And Pope Francis is one of the leaders in all of this. If you want to know how to get saved from your sins, don't listen to Pope Francis. If you want to save the daisies, listen to Pope Francis. But to me, this is just an agenda, a fear-mongering movement to take away more privileges and rights away from the people so that we can be manipulated, controlled, and in bondage. He has this from 2026 to 2030. And I think he's right. He has Christianity, I'm going to say Christendom. most of Christendom becomes a harlot through postmodernism, New Age paganism, doctrines of psychology, doctrines of men and demons, materialism, ecumenicalism. A lot of isms there. He's got that happening from 2025 to 2030. So basically, it's a watering down or a mixture of part Christianity and part craziness of doctrines of men and philosophies of men. And that's going on right now. I mean, I just posted a picture of, I don't know if it was a priest or a pastor. He's wearing the rainbow guard. He's got his priestly outfit on. He's got a rainbow guard, rainbow colors, clearly emphasizing and promoting the alphabet mafia. And then on the other side, he's got the symbols of like 6, 7 different religions. And he's got a big toothy grin. Like this is all well and good. But that's kind of what's been happening. Violence, disrespect, drug use, sexual perversion become rampant on the earth. Oh, that's definitely happening right now. How long will God put up with it before judging it like Sodom and Gomorrah? Good question. He's got that from 2026 to 2035. I mean, you can't openly celebrate sin and continue to sin and take the lives of unborn children and do heinous things to children, absolutely sinful, heinous things to children, and to the elderly, and to the poor, and on and on and on, without God at some point getting to a place where he's going to intervene. How much longer? Because Sodom and Gomorrah, I think, would be blushing at some of the things that we do here in America. And if I was Sodom and Gomorrah, I think I would have a petition to God saying, God, you punished us and we deserved it for this. How long are you going to let the United States keep doing what they're doing? I mean, it's a good argument. And so the clock's got to be ticking. Next category. I can't read what he wrote because I'll get flagged. I'll paraphrase in my language. With buggies that have been coming, and buggies that might be on the way, and the thingamajigs that are created to deal with the buggies, that potentially is killing hundreds of millions of people on Earth. In relation to the 4th seal of Revelation, when can all of this come to a head and become a real big issue on planet Earth again? He's got that from 2026 to 2035. And I think he's on point. Because if you think that the last buggy was the final buggy, there could be another buggy that's being ready to be introduced that could make the past buggy look like a sniffle. Think about that. Think about if a buggy comes on the scene that has a mortality rate of 30 to 50% of everyone who catches it. That's, you want to see people lined up to get whatever those in charge say you need to get to protect yourself from it? People will line up, folks, and do things they shouldn't do. That could be right around the corner. Murder of the innocent, abortion, genocide, killing the young and the old. How long will God allow the slaughter to continue until judgment? He's got that from 2025 to 2040. How much blood has this country's ground soaked up from the millions and millions and millions of babies over the past decades that have been murdered? And not only in this country, worldwide. How much longer will the Lord listen to the cries of that blood before he takes action? I mean, think about it, folks. Moloch, back in biblical times, parents were offering their babies to appease Moloch. And I'm not saying abortions today is an offering to Moloch. But in a way, it's the death of an innocent baby. Well, I know we're not all innocent, but you know what I mean by that, right? So it's a major deal. And just because whatever the Roe versus Wade thing that may or may not have happened, I'm not sure. But the last I checked, statistically speaking, abortions are still happening at a feverish rate even after that. It's still happening, guys. There will be one specific period on the earth where there will not be enough young people to support the old due to abortion and birth control. He has that happening anywhere from 2025 to 2040. I don't know really what to make of that. I don't know if that's how you could apply that biblically, but if Don Koenig believed that that's an issue, then I'm bringing it forth here. Getting a little bit darker now, and I don't have much time. Oh, I don't want to start the car. Okay, I'll do a couple more because I'm at the 23-minute mark. Jesus preached the acceptable year of the Lord around 28 AD. This is interesting. Next comes the day of vengeance of our God. The acceptable year of the Lord may be 40 jubilees of 50 years or 2,000 years. So, if Jesus began his ministry when he spoke at the synagogue and he read from Isaiah and he spoke about it being the acceptable year of the Lord, right before his three and a half year ministry, 2028, 2029, 2030, 2031, 2032. So you see the 2030, I'm sorry, 29 AD, 30 AD, 31 AD, 32 AD. So if Jesus had that preaching of Isaiah in the synagogue, in the temple, when he first started his public ministry, you go 3.5 years, you're talking his crucifixion, 31 AD or 32 AD. So what we're looking at, folks, is that if there is significance of 40 jubilees from when he spoke that takes us to the year 2028. So 2028 might be about the midway point of the tribulation period, right at the time where now Satan himself is allowed 3.5 years with his man of perdition to do his 3.5 years of evil. his evil agenda, versus what Jesus did was a life-saving, God-giving agenda. Okay, I'm getting really dark here. You know what? I'm over the 25-minute mark. If I get fined, I get fined. It's only $10 a minute. I want to carry on a little bit more because this is so good. Through modern technology, the gospel should be preached to all nations, and he has that by the year 2030. And we know that something's going to happen where, yes, I agree, the 144,000 Jews are going to be preaching the gospel. I really believe that, even though the scripture doesn't make that clear, but also speaks of an angel or messenger from heaven who will be proclaiming the gospel. The years he has here, which have a great chance of being during the tribulation period, I could definitely agree with him that by 2030 or so, the whole world would have heard the gospel. We know that technology is really helping that. But there's still quite a few people groups in the world that may have not heard the gospel yet, but that's soon to change. There are ministries out there that really are focusing on these various people groups that have not heard the gospel yet. So in a practical way, through missionaries, but also now through technology, it's getting to that place where we could say the whole world has heard the gospel very soon. Because iniquity will abound, the love of many will grow cold. You could see that trend already today, that's for sure. How long will it continue? I know that could be interpreted a bit differently, but I think, brothers and sisters, that you would agree with me that the love of many, including in some Christian circles, sad to say, has been growing cold. I really believe that you're going to see this more and more, especially in the tribulation period. Love, genuine godly love, is going to be hard to come by. Except probably through those who are the tribulation saints. Well, folks, to be quite honest with you, I mean, I'm as guilty as anybody else. But to experience the genuine love of God from fellow believers, even when we so often choose to be in the flesh, is concerning. I think Bro Tyler's on. Bro Tyler, I'm sporting your shirt here, bro. Fear not, hold fast, eyes on Jesus. Because as we're talking about these end times things, we got to do that. This is a good shirt, guys. It's a pretty thick material, and it gets to the point. So I really like it. I'm gonna do 2 more, and then we're gonna stop. No, actually just 1 more. The third temple will start to be rebuilt. Everything now is in place for that to happen, except a political agreement to make the Temple Mount international. 2025 to 2030 says projection. Now, I personally believe that the current situation in the Middle East is going to mushroom cloud. Don't necessarily take that literally. Mushroom cloud into such a war and such death and such destruction that it will create the scenario for the man of perdition to come on the scene, and a covenant will be strengthened with the many, will be the Abraham Accords, I believe, but tweaked, adjusted, and strengthened, and will have language in it where Israel can rebuild their temple and be able to sacrifice. I believe right here and now the table's being set for that. I think we're in the go time right now, 2025. And the days and weeks ahead are going to be seatbelt worthy time of watching and bracing yourself. So, I mean, I'm talking about putting on the seatbelt when you're watching what's going on in world affairs. So, I thank Don Koenig for his work. I still have 1, 2, 3, oh my, 4. I got a whole mess. If we're still here, I'll see you Sunday night. The week after Sunday night, I'm going to talk to Bro David and I are going to be working on something that I think you'll find interesting, if we're still here. But I will say this, I am way over. I am over 6 minutes over, $60. Was it worth it? Of course it was. I got to go back. Thank you for joining us outside the bunker. I hope to see you in the air. God bless.